All right, so everybody, right now it's 10:28 because we have already scheduled our late night show with Wesley and Lawrence here today at My Parentis Facebook page. And for those of you watching right now, you could be wondering and say, hey, why at 10:30 right now? And it's because it's a late night show, right? Late night show can't be the afternoon, in the morning. So right now we're entering the Sales and Marketing Breakthrough Week volume number 2 because we have received very good comments what we have done last week in terms of our sales and marketing breakthrough week volume 1, and that's why right now we're going to test something special. Of course, I do know that a lot of people of you here never wake up, never sleep so early, right? So that's why we are doing this late night show right now, and we are very, very honored to have Chan here today from Exabytes. So Chan, would you want to say hi to our friends?
Hi everyone. Hi Wesley. Hi Dr. Lawrence for having me.
All right, and of course, here today we have our co-host here because the late night show with Wesley and Lawrence, W and L. So Lawrence, you want to say hi to our friends?
Hi everybody. I forgot to actually do my hair, so I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry about that. I just realized both of you did your hair, so I'll make sure I do mine in the next session. Hello everybody.
That's called being real, right? What we learned last time as well, right? Okay, so for those of you here joining this right now, I want to take this chance to say welcome and thank you for joining this show right now. And again, for those of you here just joined in, so this is Sales and Marketing Breakthrough Week for Volume 2. And we'd like to invite you to also like and share this video so we can benefit many more people out there. And again, right? So today we're going to talk about a very important topic. We're going to talk about business digitalization, what you do not know. So to create more awareness in ideas for business owners, people out there in terms of digitalizing your business. So right here today, we have Chan. Okay, we're going to address you as Chan, who's going to share with us some very practical tips, experiences in helping business to go digital. Exactly now is the right time. So for those of you who are here, just say hi to us. We have Jana saying hi. Jana is here. Say hi, Jana. All right. So just before we officially enter to our questions, we have got some burning questions we want to ask Chan here today. So perhaps Chan, can you just a little bit just introduce yourself and tell us what does Exabyte do?
Sure. Hi everyone. Chan here, founder and CEO of Exabytes. I started Exabytes almost 20 years ago. That was year 2001. So that's where the Malaysia internet whole industry is just about to start back then. So Exabyte, we started by helping SMEs to actually go online, as if I think everyone knows what is a domain name, like your website.com, right? So that's our bread and butter business. That's how we get started. Today, our business already expanded and also evolved. So what we offer also include more comprehensive services. For example, like cloud, the word cloud, which are getting more popular nowadays. So we provide private clouds for enterprises. We help some companies to manage public cloud as well. Apart from that, we also helped SME and businesses out there to manage their digital marketing. For example, advertising Google, Facebook, search engine optimization, etc.
Right.
And today we also help SMEs to actually manage their website and also their online stores. So we have quite a big range or comprehensive of services that can help SME if they wanted to embark the journey of digitalizations. And we operate our HQ from Malaysia, but we also have our business in Singapore as well as Indonesia. So today we are serving about 140,000 active SMEs and enterprises across the Southeast Asia.
Wow, 140 is a huge amount of clients that you serve, right? And again, one more time, thank you so much for having you on the show, spending your time here despite 10:30. I'm not too sure you're going to work after this or you're going to spend time with your family, right? And we were just having a pre-chat before this show, and we asked Chan and say, hey, are you busier now? Are you like more free? And the obvious answer is, yeah, guess what? I'm busier right now because in the world of digital. And again, so we got some friends saying hi to you. So Chan, Yan says hi to you.
Hi everyone. Hi Yan.
All right, and yeah.
Hi.
So we got one friend over this right, because Louis saying hi as well. Hi, Louis. Okay, so here's a question, right? I'm actually always very curious to ask business digital entrepreneurs like you all, right? Now, because the word digital, right, is always easier said than done. So in your perspective, serving more than 140 of your clients, right, 140,000 of your clients, what are some common problems faced by traditional businesses when it comes to going digital?
Right, I think traditional businesses. Okay, this is also the interesting trends. Before MCO and during MCO, in the past, right, for a lot of traditional businesses, going digital or embarking e-commerce this is probably just like their to-do list, and they have very long to-do list, right? And I think it also more as a marketing, right? My competitor have a website, then I need to have a website. Government is talking about e-commerce, I need to try e-commerce, but it's always not that mainstream to most of the traditional businesses. But I think what's interesting is that during the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks of MCO, what we can see is that, right, because of their retail businesses, their traditional bit of the business, which involving offline, involving retail, basically is like standing still. You can't do much, right? So what they left is actually their digital or their e-commerce. So what we can see very interestingly is those traditional businesses where in the past they have both offline and online presence, they actually their online is actually really growing extremely well, right? Partly because of they already have their brand already established in the offline retail world, and because of they also have some solid foundation in running business. So for them, it's actually how to pivot and how to actually react quickly, shift their focus and resources, shift their marketing to maybe, in the past it's the 20% online, 80% offline. Now they're actually shifting almost 99% to online, right?
Yeah.
So we are seeing a very, very tremendous good success for that kind of customers. Of course, we also handle a lot more of SMEs and also individual sellers, right? In the past, who never touch about e-commerce, or have zero knowledge or zero presence about e-commerce. But because of MCO, then they start to learn. They start to see the limitation of their traditional offline business, and of course on the other side they see the potential of they can go online and run their e-commerce business during the MCO. Lucky enough, e-commerce one of the essential businesses during the MCO. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is very good, very important that companies need to maybe start to adapt, and they maybe need to start to change. But I think there's a very let's move backwards a little bit on transformation of business, digitalization, right? So now everybody is going online. Everybody, literally everybody, even selling papayas also go online. Whatever. I've seen so many products are going online now that I never thought of. So everybody is going online. So my question to you is it actually for everyone? If any industry can actually do that? Can they just adapt and just, like the 80-20 that you mentioned, can they just, shift like this and they actually can make money from the online space? What do you think about this?
Okay, so there are several myths that we need to understand and also clarify, right? First of all, I think go online doesn't mean it goes to e-commerce, right? Go online, basically what it says is that you have some kind of web presence, right? And I think we also not just using the word go online, probably we heard a lot more word about digital transformations, right? Again, digital transformation doesn't mean you need to, it goes to 100%, you need to have a web presence, or you need to do e-commerce, right? So let's look at each of these bucket one by one, right?
Yep.
So of course, e-commerce very obvious, right? You put up your product or services or your food, right? Either on your website or you join somebody else, a platform or marketplace. Then you start selling. You take the orders from through the internet. You collect payment online. Then you deliver the services or products. Of course, the products and the services itself is not 100% online. You still need a delivery company or courier guy or your so-called Grab food, whatever, to help you deliver the last mile, right? So that's for the e-commerce. E-commerce also involving, like, for example, B2B, right? Because not all e-commerce is B2C, right? So B2B e-commerce may also involving, for example, how you actually market your products through certain B2B platform, right? For example, Alibaba in that case, right? And where you attract buyers who wanted to actually buy and sell your products in bigger items, right? So that's form of e-commerce. Then we talk about digitalizations. So I think now we are towards MCO4, right? So of course things are slowly settled down, right? But I think during the first MCO was announced, actually a lot of businesses out there, regardless big or small, or even private sector or public sector, most of them actually haywire, right? They never prepared for MCO, right? For instance, right, I think the common problem is that, hey, my accounting software is actually installed in my PC in my office, right? And we are so used to all these payment voucher lah, all these printed documentation and all that. when it announced work from home is too sudden, I can't transform my PC back to my house, or my home internet is not at the capacity of supporting all these day-to-day activities, right? So that is a part where I think digitalizations, if you have more digitalizations, it will help. For example, you're running on a fully cloud-based accounting software, right? You're running a cloud-based payroll system. That's why regardless of you're working from home or you're working in the office, so long you have internet, you can work, right? That's one part lah. Other than that, is also whether are we preparing our employees and our team to be digitalized and mobilized, right? For example, you may have the system on the cloud, but employees don't have a laptop, then how, right?
Yeah.
So that's also one of the common problems we're seeing during the first week of MCO. So for our company, in our case, our entire operations from the tools we use, the CRM, the billing, the help desk, even our phone telephony system is fully on the cloud, right? So for us, actually there's no different working in the office or working from home, except home maybe noisy for some of the employees because of the staff, they have their kids and all that in the background, right? But in general, I think day-to-day operation, there's no difference, right? So that's the second bucket, digitalizations, right? Number three, going online. Going online, it could be in many forms. For example, right, in the past, we so used to meeting face to face, having our hair tarik sessions and all that, right? But today, because of MCO, we have no choice, right? We can't travel, or even you invite me, I also not dare to travel, right?
Correct.
So we also call that new normal lah. So we're actually changing that physical meeting, become something that can be conducted over the live. For example, right, doing an FD live session like this is actually unusual. In the
Yes.
past, we never thought we want to do this, right? Or conducting our office daily meeting, weekly meeting, using like Zoom and any kind of communications, right? Or now we'll probably have more sessions interacting with our customers through WhatsApp calls, right? Or even another session through Zoom, right? So this is also a form of having online, right? Online is also means whether can you be found, right, in the internet. When people looking for certain solutions or interesting to learn certain topics, or they need to buy certain products, whether you can be found online, right? So these are the three main buckets of having in general, digitalizations. And clearly, right, businesses who can adopt to all these three buckets, even any one of these buckets is definitely showing positive results during MCO. It has been helpful, right? Of course, if any company is can do all these three things and already doing these three things, then I think they'll continue to survive, not just survive through during the MCO, but I believe they'll continue to go strong post MCO.
I think this is a very good analogy on three different stages, and then of course different companies may are at different stages, and they may need different things. Like for example, printers. When we first announced MCO, we were also don't know what to do, because we have been doing a lot of events, offline events, and actually we are proud that we are working with your team very closely on actually managing whatever that we need to digitalize at the moment. So I think this is very important. Let's move a bit forward on this. People need to realize, they need to understand where they stand. They need to understand where they are in the position. They may need to ask people, or they need to seek help on experts. So as you can see, everybody is doing Facebook Live. I'm saluting all the gurus out there, all the speakers out there, but in fact, there are a lot and too many speakers, and there are too many gurus and too many, whatever you name it. There's masters, kung fu masters. So just guidance for our business owner out there. So they need guidance. They need the proper advice. They need to take things step by step. So what actually, maybe we will not define who, but what would actually define a good mentor? In what capacity a good mentor, a good guide would be to help this traditional business to actually transform digitally?
For me, I think, in my opinion, a good mentor has to be at the first place a very good listener, right? Mentor, I think it should be the person that will let the students or the mentee to actually talk first, right? Then from there he listen. Then from there he discover, what is the actual situation, what is the potential. I met many other, other kind of mentors or gurus, right? Before you start talking, they machine gun stop already, right? So there's no right or wrong lah, but I felt playing a role as a mentor versus as a teacher versus as a some commercial class trainers are different. Mentor, I think the role a mentor need to play has to be slightly in depth, right? More involved in terms of the operations or the day in day out of how it functions, right? Even the character of the entrepreneur itself. Then the mentor would be then provide a right advice and or provide a good directions, but the choices or the decisions is always on the students or on the entrepreneur's hands.
Yeah. So you mentioned a very good point where, a lot of people thought that, wow, once they find the right mentor and then settle, I don't have to take action. But I think it's entirely not true because a mentor is just like a guide, and the mentee has to take the action to move forward, right?
Yeah.
And so speaking of which, so we have people here. Ganesh Muran say, thank you, Doctor, for organizing very enriching session. Give it love. All right. We have Shalene Chiu saying hi. Thank you, Shalene, for joining. All right, and I just want to do a quick shout out for those of you here, just in case if you just came in, it doesn't matter because we are preparing a summary of today's Facebook Live, just in case if you want, and also my ebook on the 14-day sales breakthrough action plan. So you can click on this tiny CC sales and marketing. You'll be having a copy of the summary and also the ebook on what you can do the next 14 days to break through in your sales and marketing. All right, so in this matter right now, I want to do a follow-up question here. You talk about a very important point about being a good mentor. Now, I want to ask you. Not too sure, should I ask you on behalf of you as a mentor, as a coach? My curiosity is knowing that now is a new norm. What do you foresee will the change be after COVID-19 for all the business industries, especially in the digital world?
I think a lot of things will change for sure, right? I think very soon the two gentlemen here, I think you guys will need a haircut soon, right? So one of the new normal is probably, instead of visiting a barber shop, you probably will learn how to shave your hair, right? Some of us probably already started cooking or bake cakes and that kind of lifestyles. So I think this is one of the biggest change, and the impact, think about it, the impact on this is actually huge, right? In the past, you probably will do this outside, right? Through a service provider. You'll dine outside, you'll consume the services outside, right? And that's also the reason that the business will exist, right? But because of that spending or that consumption behavior change, I think those who are in that industry, unless they find some ways that to attract back their customers, else I think short term, meantime it will be quite struggling, right? Other than that, I think those in the travel or for example airline, right? That is I think the biggest hit, right? In the past, to be honest, right, I will have at least 3 trips every week, right? To KL, to Singapore, to Indonesia, 3 weeks. So most of the time I'm on the move. You probably higher chances to see me in the airport rather than see me in the office, right? But because of that, right, many people like me, frequent business travelers, we are already changed, right? Because we can't travel anymore, right? So we already changed that behavior and already adopted, to the way that, actually stay at home is even better, right? It's more efficient because you save a lot of time in terms of traveling. You also save actually a lot of traveling costs, right?
Yes.
And in the past, probably you can do 2 or 3 meetings max a day. Now, I look at my calendar, it's crazy. I have like 6 meetings in a day, right? So I think this is also one of the big area that how things change, right? And look at it, it's not just businesses, right? This round, I think the impacts happens and all the verticals. For instance, the kids, right? They can't go to school, they can't go to tuition, right? So now the school teachers and even the tuition teacher is all conducting their classes using Zoom, right?
Correct.
This is like unlikely will happen. I think there are so many initiatives, so many companies try to push the so-called e-tuition in the past, but you hardly see any great success. But today, this is like happening every day, right? Then I think the post MCO impact is because of the students already started to get used to learning from home, and also bearing the fear that post MCO doesn't mean the COVID-19 is gone, right? So are you going to send your kids back to the crowded tuition center? This is a big question mark. I think short term, most of the parents probably will try to avoid that, right? So I think that also created quite a lot of impact for those who do the childcare, who do tuitions and all that. For sure, I think the impact is huge, right? And again, it doesn't stop at here, right? Even like my parents, for example, in the past morning, they used to go to their regular morning exercise, meet up their friends, and have their breakfast in coffee shop and all that. But today they can't do that anymore. Post MCO, I won't encourage them to do that either, right? So again, that segment of business will be affected, right? And even the coffee shop and all that can open as you can open. I won't say open as usual. I will say open back the business, but very sure there will be some social distancing guideline, right? For example, one table now you only can sit one person instead of last time 5-6 people squeezed together, right?
Yeah.
So that will actually impact in terms of the capacity, the what they call the turnover rate of the table and all that. So all this is happening at different verticals, dimensions, level, and you look at it. The scary part is it's not just happening in Malaysia. Basically, the whole world is like this, right? So the impacts of the towards the economy is actually no one can really predict what will be the impact, right? Because now it's still within the first 1 month or first 1.5 months, right? And which lucky enough, I think we are still heavily subsidized by the government so that we can go through these first 3 months, right? But what if after 3 months, right, situation, what if even the vaccine is invented, I don't think within 3 months it'll be made available to everyone. So you look at it, the whole scenario probably will take easy another 6 months, or maybe it could be 1 year or 2 years. No one have an answer for now, right? So all this definitely will change how people behave, how people spend money, how people conduct the business. And clearly is that because of the social distancing, and also you can't really have the physical face-to-face activities that it used to be. So the alternative replacement is digital, right? So the more you can adopt in terms of digital at the most friendly way, most conducive manner, then I think that will actually win the most of the customers.
Right. Good. So you give a very thorough. I mean, I like the idea. You talk about kids, you talk about eat lah. There's like a whole wholesome landscape that you shared. All right. Okay. So let's zoom into the context of sales and marketing. I resonate with what Ganesh says. Ganesh says that Asia is a culture where we love to meet face to face to do business. How do we educate potential clients to transit from face to face to online post MCO? And also to add on to, in addition to what Ganesh said, how can sales and marketing perspective leverage these to our advantage so that we can educate customers to reach out to them?
In the past, I will use the word educate, but today you don't have to educate. They don't have choices, right? Either they face a wall or else they have to, conduct the face-to-face interaction using digital, like what we are doing now, right? Of course, they can find way to sneeze out and bearing the risk that either they got caught or they will have infected,
Yeah.
So I think, like for example, in the past, we have to put in a lot of effort, do all kind of training, webinars, campaign to educate our customers to go digital or adopt e-commerce. Today, we don't have to do that education bit, right? We do education, but it's no longer tell them, hey, you need to go online. It's about how to do online, right? What else you can do? How can you fine tune? How can you improve? How can you do more? So it actually moved to a different level of educations.
Yeah. I think I really like this part, which is actually exactly what my next question is going to be all about. Because you see, like I said, I've listened to numerous interviews, numerous gurus, numerous advice, on educating. But I like your part on different level of education. Means we need to actually help them step by step. What's next? And that's why in this volume 2, I already discussed with Wesley. I said in our interviews, we want our speakers to actually share with us what are the actions that can be taken. So this resonates with my next question. I actually remember this morning you were called as Penang Chan, right? So yeah, I was actually watching. I missed out when both of you were discussing, and then Wesley, also you have a Chan there's a KL Chan. One is a KL Chan, one is a Penang Chan. So Penang Chan, I really want to ask you this question. So business, they need to determine whether are they able to transit, are they able to change. What are some important steps that they need to start doing first, and how do they actually get consultation? Maybe you can use an example of Exabyte. How do you actually help businesses to take the first step on actually digitalizing their business?
Right. So I will assume most of the businesses who ask these kind of questions, they probably thought of want to do digital transformation, but they haven't really started, right? So, I would say, for example, right, I think in the past I never done any FB live like this. So I will start to think a lot of all kind of the scenarios. How should I prepare myself? What will be the reaction? What will happen? What if no one watching this and that? So a lot of questions which is unnecessary. We call it fear, right?
Yeah.
This is also similar to like if you don't know swimming, right? Someone invite you to to the beach or throw you to the pool, you will be panicking, right? You'll be worried, right? This is also the same like if you don't know how to drive, right? And if someone pass you a car key and say you go and drive, you feel nervous, right? So actually that's different from embarking to digital, right? The most of the time we fear, we afraid, we scared is because of we don't understand, we don't know, and we don't know because we never done that before, right? So the best way to actually conquer the fear is actually start doing. For example, I think during the SDO, there are so many webinars out there. There are so many courses out there. Even for Exabytes, I think towards the second week of MCO, we already throw out one whole week of webinars, teaching and sharing various of solutions out there to help the SME to embark the digitalizations, right? So I think if the business out there they haven't taken any steps yet, I think the first thing they need to do is go and try, right?
Yeah.
And it won't cost you anything, right? Plus you got nothing to do. I think you already done your cake baking, you already done your cooking, you already done whatever exercise you need to do. If you haven't done anything on learning something about digital, now is the best time, right? Yeah, most of the providers out there, they offer like 1 week, 2 weeks, or even 1 full month of free trial, some even up to 90 days, right? There's no harm and nothing to lose, right? Even you have to pay, it won't cost a lot. I think it's ranging, most of it is free again, right? And if they are really charging, I think it's also ranging from like tens to probably hundreds of ringgits, right? So you have nothing to lose compared to like your business cannot operate and you have to pay thousands of rentals doing nothing, right? So I will highly encourage not just by listening and attending all these kind of webinars, but really go and try it, right? For example, if you want to sell product online, the best way is actually go and sign up some of the online platform out there. For example, what we offer, we have this e-commerce solution called Easy Store. We provide 14 days trial. Just go and sign up and upload whatever products, just to have a feeling of how it works. It's not that scary than we imagine, right? And today, I think with the advancements of technologies and also the ecosystem, it's actually very easy. So long you know how to log into Facebook, I think you have no problems to operate any e-commerce store, for example, right? So long you know how to compose your emails using Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, you have no problems to actually use a CRM, for example, right? So it's about trying, right? But of course, I think there's also a big misconception here. A lot of time I associate the more traditional the business is, they tend to like when they move online, they want to copy bulat exactly the same flows and procedures as how they functions in the offline traditional world and apply it to the online world. For me, I think that is very difficult to work, or very difficult to see the success, because online offline somehow there are still many differences. So I think there's a term here, right? We have to do the e-commerce way, we have to do the internet way, right? We have to do the new normal way, right? So I think the end goal won't change, right? Customers will still need that product or need that services, right? Or still need someone to fix that solutions, right? But what need to change is about the flow. I'll give you one example, right? In the past, I think if you want to sell a product, probably you have to first have a face-to-face meeting. You need to have a quotation. You need to send sample, right? You need to sign agreement. Then the lawyers will take weeks to review and negotiate the agreements, right? And this is traditional, right? And as you know, it takes a lot of time and resources, right? But when you translate all this to online, if you try to run a website without putting enough information about your products, without displaying the pricing, and you only put a form and say you are interested, fill out the contact us form, right? That kind of business, I think you are very difficult to get any traction, right? Because users, I think the behavior is when they are searching for that products or solutions out there, they'll go to search engine. Search engine will give them tens and thousands of results, right? And they will, as a user behavior, you actually open up the multiple windows, right? So
Yeah.
the one that with the information instantly make available to the potential prospects, right, will be the one who immediately engage with each other. That's where the deals will happen. The one that okay contact us, my guy will reach out to you in 2 days, 3 days. I think sorry, I think that process is getting tougher and tougher, especially during this MCO process. Yeah.
So I like the part where you give the analogy when the moment people search you and then they look for information complete and available, have the advantage. That's what you're saying, right?
Yep.
So I think it's I think a shout out to all of you watching this right now. I think it's a very practical way. So if we are not having our business online where people can search and search everything and can complete and available, I think we are missing a lot of opportunities. So that's a good way to bring our business digital. And you mentioned a good part just now. We talked about managing the fear, and the best part to manage the fear is just to go and do it and try it, right? And which is exciting because we started with Lawrence and we don't know where. Just go and say that. Right? Lawrence always say his first time going Facebook Live is given to me. Okay, an honor, right? So I like the part to start and think the best time to start is yesterday. I mean, the next best time is definitely now, right? Okay, so that was you talked about going business. You're gonna go online, just put website. Do you have any other things, maybe in terms of sales and marketing? Maybe is there any other advice that you have in regards to sales and marketing? So just now you talk a lot about just putting there. Is there any very practical tips in terms of going digital to already go and hunt or farm people in terms of sales and marketing perspective?
Let's talk about sales first, right?
Yeah.
So I think during this MCO period, we saw more and more people wanted to actually sell products online, or they have been started selling products online, right?
Yes.
But there are three major basket here, right? Of course, the number one is those do the full-fledged of e-commerce. They are proper online stores. They are payment gateway, and customers want to buy anything, just go to the website, click, or through marketplace, they click, then they buy and pay. That's it. That group, I think they have no problems to grow and scale during this MCO or post MCO, right? The only limitation is whether they still have enough inventory to sell or not, right? Because their supplier is not working, some of the logistics not working.
Correct.
Right? But in
Correct.
general, I think they are doing okay, right? The second group I think we are seeing here is that they already started selling, right? But maybe this is something quite new to them, or in their way of running business, they never really concerned about automations and all that. There's a types of groups of sellers. They're selling on all kind of social media like Facebook, Instagram. You want to buy, you PM me and all that, right? Nothing wrong, nothing wrong. I think this is also part of the people, human to human interaction. Sometimes that we enjoy, right? Asking about the price, chit chat with the sellers and all that. But the only problem is it's exciting and it's good to start with because practically there's no cost, right? But once you start to have like tens of or hundreds of PM, or some even can get to thousands of PM, that's where things get messy, right? Imagine you have to answer every individual one and tell them which price and reply you back and forth, quality, quantity, colors, pricing, my bank account, please send me the payment confirmation once that is done. And how are you going to reconcile with all that, right? So we are seeing a lot of sellers when they reach that stage, then they start to the whole operation become really really messy, right? Then the third one is this one I think really have to put some serious thoughts. I think again it's nothing right or wrong, but I'm trying to say that that you probably still amazed and see that there are still people actually selling products, right? And they say contact us. They don't even show the price, right? And that's the part that I think because we deal with a lot of sellers, and even I myself also as a consumer, a lot of time I want to buy certain thing, and the frustration part is like when you have that, because internet things happens in just within the flick of seconds, right? When you have that emotion that you want to buy the products or you want to sign up services, right? And the moment you feel like you want to take that action, right, you conquer your fear and you want to take the action, contact us. right? The moment you fill out the contact us form, tomorrow you wake up, that moment is gone already, right?
Yeah.
So I think in terms of sales, these are, I think, the three different stages or three groups of sellers eventually you came across, right? Let's talk a little bit about marketing. I think I think we have to also agree that not all businesses they are able to continue to sell their product or services during the MCO due to various kinds of limitations, right? But I think at least they can continue. They can actually start the marketing even during the MCO. For example, right, build out their brandings, right? It could be like follow up with customers, drop a message to customers, or of course you can do event talk shows like this, right? Or else take the opportunity to just maybe ramp up a website if you already have a website that never been updated for 10 years, right? Take the opportunity to ramp up the website. Or if they totally doesn't have any website, I think it's a best timing to at least start a website, right? Make sure your website can be found on the Google Maps, right? At least that actually start to create that kind of awareness that people know about you, right? Yeah, of course you already have all this ready. I think what we need to do is start to do maybe some more aggressive marketing, for example, right? Doing some targeted ads, right? For example, do your segmentation. For example, check your Google Analytics and start to understand what's your user behavior. There are so many things actually we can do. In the past, we always busy with too many unnecessary day-to-day things, right? And we use that as an excuse that we are not doing all these things. But today, right, because of MCO, actually you can't run anywhere, right? So the only thing you can do is actually make good use of the MCO, right? At least when the MCO ended, right, when you walk out from your room, walk out from your home prison, you at least know that okay, I have this bucket list that I already cleared, right? I already learned one or two new skills or new discovery about my business, right? Or some one or two new ideas on how I can transform and continue to run my business post MCO.
Yep.
I think this is a very good sharing about how we differentiate, going online and offline, and how actually sales and marketing is now different. You see, let's go sidetrack a little bit, Chan. You see, previously when we do things offline, it's very simple, right? Like you said, we bring the product, we bring it to you. You want it or not? I'll tell you straight to your face. Okay, I'm interested or I'm not interested. But now when things go online, it's different. Like you said, it could be very fast, but it could be very slow. So I think maybe one setback that I realize business people that are not so interested to go online or may not know how to go online is because of this particular part. They are not sure of the result. They do not know whether the method that they choose is, I think it's going to be a try and error, but they are so demotivated. For example, a very good example is this. I think I've lost count how many FB live I've been doing since MCO. But I don't really actually care about how many viewership. To me, it's even in my printers, if we help one people's life, that is one people's life. That is always what I believe in. But I think business owners, they are demotivated. They feel that when I put up an advertisement, nobody come and subscribe, etc., etc. What is your advice on these people who are now trying to embark on this, but yet they are still, it's still not easy and still blurry to see the result?
I think if they have that kind of thought and perception, right, it's probably unfair to compare in one angle, right? If we were actually, I will tend to ask them back, right? Are you certain or are you sure that how your traditional offline business is going, able to function or behave post MCO? I think even that so-called the traditional offline business that they are so familiar with, probably after these 6 weeks or potentially 8 weeks of MCO, they can't tell. Like for example, if you ask your hair salon, how you predict the business would be, right? Or you go and visit your most favorite bubble tea and ask how the business potentially would be post MCO. I think they can't tell, right? In the past, they can tell you, oh, this is a trend, this is a post Chinese New Year, this is a Ramadan season trend and all that. But with the MCO and a lot of behavior is already reset, we have to also think the impact itself is not just purely because of the MCO, then the habit change. I think we have to also think about it because of the MCO. Then some recession is already happening, right? The economy is already slowing down, and
Yeah.
Right now, I think not everyone is absorbing the hit or feeling the impact yet because of partly is I think the prihatin aids given by the government. Partly is I think most businesses will still have like 1-2 months runway, right? But if this continue to prolong, right, the impact itself is not just the MCO, the new normal or the habit change, but you have to consider also the economy slowdown and the recessions. Plus, we have to also consider the fears or the worries about the COVID-19 is here there, right? So when all these three things combine together and multiply each other, it becomes super complicated. I think there's no supercomputer out there can answer this question yet, right?
Yeah.
So I think is with that I think it's unfair to say there's less confidence or less know-how online versus on offline. What I'm trying to say is that the offline world that we are so used to and so familiar, sorry to say that is already changed and we can't go back, right? So likely or not, we have to embrace the new normal. We have to embrace the new changes.
Correct. I really like this new norm philosophy that has been ongoing for the past 1 week. And a follow-up question on that. I do not know if you have a data to this, but I would just like to ask your opinion. I think this new norm, social distancing and etc. I think in parts of our urban areas, urban cities, I think people are getting it. People get enough info. People surf on Facebook. What do you personally think about people that is residing, at the rural area, at the outskirts, not in the urban city? I do not know you have the data, but what do you think about these people there? Are they getting it? Are they also actually coming into this business digitalization? Are they actually accepting the new norm?
Right. I don't have the data, but my general observation is people in the rural areas probably they were less impacted with the MCO because for them, the way how they do their day to day is very different from people who live in the city, right? I think largely because of the density, right? Let's say in the kampong, right? How many head counts per that one kilometer squares and all that, right? And probably people in the kampong, in the rural area, they're already planting their vegetables and fruits and all that, right? Compared to the people who live in the city, because of the MCO, now they only learn how to do farming and all that, right? People who live in the village, probably in the past, they probably also difficult having access to barber. They probably already trimming their hair all this while, right? It's only people who stay in the city never done this before, right? So I think the so-called the new normal for me, I felt the impact probably hit the most on the people who live in a high density area such as a urban city or in a more developed area like capitals and all that. Yeah.
Good. So interesting part when you talk about all these observations, right? I think also as much as we want to shout out about the importance of digitalization, I think what we also need to consider are such as again infrastructure. Some people may not have the right infrastructure, and and there's the reason why I think in regards of infrastructure and readiness. So the government actually have a certain grant. I think I heard of this grant, which is a TSP for the MDEC grant. So would you mind to just enlighten us? How can businesses leverage on this grant to prepare themselves so that they can be more ready towards this journey? So can you please explain that?
So basically, that's a part of the Malaysian government budget for 2020 lah. That what they call the grant and the budget is already approved and set aside. I think since the last year, right, and implement supposed to be carry out this year. But I think in the midst of that time frame, the COVID outbreak happens and the MCO and all that. So that kind of like shifted away a little bit the focus to that grant. But that grant is still exists. Basically, the government actually put aside 500 million with the aim actually to support 100,000 SMEs, to support that in terms of digitalization themselves, right? So the product and services allowed or offered under that scope is actually quite broad, right? From implementing POS up to like CRM or some digital marketing. All these are actually part of the approved criteria, right? So how it works is it goes as if a matching, right? And up to a maximum of 5,000 grants per SME. So which means, right, if you spend 10,000 through one of the qualified service provider, 5,000 will be allocated to you. So 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 you just need to pay 5,000. The other half of it, 5,000, actually will be paid by the government, right? So MDEC is the agency who tasked to actually carry out this program, and also together with BSN and SME Bank, right? So the list of the service provider is already published on the MDEC website as well as BSN. The process and guideline is also available out there, lah. I think the only limitation I can see now is probably I think the past 1 month, right? The focus is about, hey, how can I continue to operate during MCO, or what will happen, post MCO, right? Then I think sooner they slowly, all the business out there is like they realize that the MCO, the COVID-19 is not disappeared in the shortest time, right?
Yeah.
Then they also at the same time saying that, hey, maybe their friends or some of the companies out there who have more digital presence or stronger in terms of e-commerce capabilities, those are the businesses who actually can continue to operate and still generate some good amount of businesses during MCO, and that probably motivates and also inspired more businesses to also say, hey, they need to also adopt the digital transformations, right? So I think this is probably the best moment, because most of business you can't operate at the full capacity as what you need to do as usual. So take that opportunity to actually glance through, right? What are some of the product and services that's allowed under these digitalization grants, right? Who are some of the service provider, and to explore all these potential. Get yourself ready. At least you have some ideas on where you are heading to, right? So that immediately, I think once the MCO is lifted, immediately you can jump into execution, right? Instead of wait until the MCO is finished, then only you start to ding dong, try to find then probably you wasted another few more months. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you so much. And again, just in case if people would like to know on this grant, I mean, who should they refer to? Should they like check it out on your website or?
Yes, Exabytes definitely is also one of the approved service provider under this program, right? What they can do, the easiest way, actually go to Google and search for MDEC digitalization. Probably they'll see the first two results is actually related to that. Else, probably they can leave a comment in the FB Live here. Then after that, I can share the link.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much for that. Right. So, and for those of you here who's keen to leverage on, want to know information about this grant, perhaps you can just comment the word grant. So maybe we can just get back to you after that. All right. So there's one question, interesting question from Vincent Ong. Hi, Vincent. Thank you so much for joining. Let us know. Give us a thumbs up if you're here. All right. So the question to Chan, Penang Chan, right? He's a KL Chan. So do you think certain current school syllabus need to be revised to cope with this ever-changing environment due to this crisis? I'm not too sure. I mean, you're in a position to answer, but just hear your thoughts. Right? So what are your thoughts on this?
Yes, I think the answer is very obvious. Even before this MCO, I think people like myself and the rest from a lot of people from the industry, they already have a strong feeling that our existing school syllabus need to change, right? I think our current majority of the structure of the syllabus, number one is too exam oriented, right? And number two is more on testing how good your memory is instead of versus your thinking skill, right? And number three is in terms of the percentage or the weightage in terms of all these STEMs, right? Science, mathematics, and all that. I think the percentage is probably lower in that sense, right? These are nothing wrong in the past. Back then you don't have internet, right? But today I think anything that you have a questions here, so long you know how to operate, you can find an answer. You no longer need to actually memorize that answer or memorize that solutions. But we can see that I think big chunk of our existing school syllabus are not addressing that needs, right? But of course, say is easier than done. Actually involve many layers, right? From the ministry to the teachers and even the parents or even the kids, are they ready, right? So a little bit of background on this is that having that frustration and also seeing that that critical problems need to be addressed. Actually, early this year, I invested in a new startup called Forward School, right? So Forward School, the idea is to run the tertiary education in a different way, right? We focus more on the STEMs or so-called the technical subjects. The idea is how you, number one, we need to solve the problem in terms of shortage of IT talents, right? Traditionally, you need 4 years to actually graduate from IT stream, right? And the problem is, right, let's say you are learning a version 2020 of the software this year, but 4 years later, it becomes 2024 in IT world, that's equivalent to 40 years already, right? That knowledge and that software become outdated already, right? But current syllabus and structure is not addressing that needs. So we actually wanted to shorten that learning from 4 years to 2 years, right? And of course, the content, the syllabus itself, we need to change because we felt a lot of the universities or colleges out there, the syllabus have been written like almost like decades ago, right? Today, sadly to say, right, the student, if they study local, most of the time they graduate, and when they go interview, right, it's actually they find themselves irrelevant, right? And that's also make it harder for the companies to hire them, right? Even they can hire them, then whether the company also think whether they deserve, that pay. It's not the fault on the students, but the whole structure. So I think definitely schools, education, syllabus is something that need to put a lot of serious thoughts into that. We need a massive re-engineering in terms of the whole approach of the education. Yeah.
Thank you so much for the answer. I don't get me started with re-engineering the education system. I think we will not definitely end this Facebook Live. I can tell you the whole night about this, but I agree so much with what you said. But just one last question before Wesley takes over the final question as well, Chan. Let's backtrack a bit to the businesses. And I know cash flow and money grants are literally very important for businesses. But I think that's should not be the only focus. So maybe can you share with us, do Exabyte also give advisory services to businesses? Do they handhold them or handhold as in what do you need now? What do you need later? Because there are so many services, so many different types of products, online, cloud, non-cloud, or whatever. I'm also confused sometimes. So do you all do that? And can you tell us a little bit how do you all do the hand holding?
Yes, so the answer is actually yes and no. As I shared just now, right, Exabyte actually we are serving 140,000 businesses out there with more than millions of users. So we can't really hand holding every individual customers, right? So what we normally do is we create a platform. For example, we also organize our own conferences, events, and all that. We want to actually educate all our customers or anyone who are interested to learn in a way that is scalable, right? So instead of like I teach one-to-one, I rather create a platform, right? And I invite tens or hundreds of speakers to come and share, right? We also invite hundreds of thousands of participants to come and learn, right? And I think what's interesting is throughout the MCO, that's where we're also doing our first webinars, we're doing our first FB Live. So in the past, we will have to do all these conferences or workshop offline in a seminar hall. But now we bring it online, then we find actually there are many benefits. For example, we can organize or put up live event in a shorter time than a physical offline events, right? And even better is the outreach, right? In the past, one seminar hall, there's a fixed maximum numbers of audience that you can accommodate. But today, by doing all these digital formats of learning, basically, there's no limit on how many concurrent users that we can reach or address at the same time. What's even better is all these sessions is actually now recorded, right? So the next 2 hours, the next 2 days, or regardless the next 2 weeks or 2 months, people can always come back and learn. So we find this actually more scalable, right? So we have been doing this since the MCO tool, and we have been not only doing this on ourselves, we also help a lot of our customers to organize their own webinars and so on and so forth. So that's one part. When it comes to handholding, yes, we also handhold some of the customers, or rather say some of the businesses out there. So under Exabytes, we have this accelerator program. We call it the Cockroach Tech Startup Program. So we actually handpick several startups, especially those in a very early stage, right? That's a part which we felt they needed quite a lot of help because they just started up. And also the other part is most of the accelerators or incubator out there, right? They are more focusing on those seed stage or beyond seed stage, right? So we have this Cockroach Tech Startup Program. We help those startups in a pre-seed stage. There's a part that we do a little bit more of a one-to-one handholding with the idea that to increase the chances of success. Partly is also I myself, I went through that tough entrepreneur journey, right? Especially when you started your business, you don't know who to ask, you haven't built a network, you don't know who and who, right? So I think we went through that the hard way. So by sharing some of the experience and also leveraging on some of the resources or platform we have, with the goal to actually help to increase the success rate of more businesses out there. Yeah. Of course, on day to day, we do all kinds of we won't say advisory, but because of we deal with a lot of we deal with many types of businesses, towards their digital needs. So we see many ways of doing things differently in terms of digitalizations or go online or go e-commerce. So we have some answers that we think might be benefits and useful to most of the businesses out there who just started, or even we ourselves, we may not have the right answer or have a solutions that can solve that particular needs. But I believe we would know someone, or we have another platform that we may link them to get the right answers.
I think that is a very good platform. I personally, I'm also a Cockroach alumni. So I want to thank you, Chan and Exabyte, for helping us print this at the early days. I actually asked one of your team member before, why do you call it Cockroach, right? So it's actually tam saya. You cannot kill it easily. Type of I don't know what is Chengsan in English, but that's what it means. Thank you so much for helping all these startups. Wesley, over to you.
Tam say means unkillable.
Unkillable.
the spirit, the
The never give
unstoppable.
up.
Never
Yeah.
give up attitude, right? Okay, good. Okay, so perhaps we want to spend more time with you, but unfortunately we can't. All right, so here's our last question here. Joyce Chu, which is exactly the last question we're going to ask, and say, what is your advice for the future and current leaders in the industry in dealing with day-to-day challenges during and after COVID? Which is the last question here. Is there any advice? And coming back to the question here, what do people not know? So what's your last advice?
Right. So let me address that question first, right? So I think number one is we have to face and also accept the reality. MCO is not a 1 month or 2 month holiday break or low season. I think the real impact is not just the MCO, but you have to look at it as in totality. Number one is it started with all this COVID-19, right? And COVID-19 is not just another flu. It's something that may take lives, right? So I think it's also the outbreak and the spread is actually quite contagious, and because of that, we have to implement quarantine, we have to implement MCO, we have to do circuit breaker, whatever you call it, right? With that, I think people no longer move from one country to one country, even from one kampong move to another kampong is also become so difficult, right?
Yeah.
And because of these two things, right? I think in the past, any one of these things, what will trigger is actually recession or the economy slow down, right? But right now, these two things happen together, so you can imagine the kind of recessions or the kind of economy slowdown that is going to happen, right? So with all these three things happen together, the multiplying factor and you can imagine the complexity and the skill, and it's not happens in 2 or 3 countries. It's basically happening the entire world, right? So once we start to understand and accept that as a reality, and that's how we will actually reflect ourselves, settle down, and try to think what should we do, right? Because you try to address that as a short-term 2 months problem versus trying to address that as, okay, this is not going to getting away in the 2 years time, right? Then your solutions toward that is actually very, very different, right? So my advice is for most of the business out there, unfortunately we need to wake up and face a reality, right? We have to accept that this is something that is not like MCO lifted, then everything back to usual. Unfortunately it won't, right? So we have to really think, okay, how the behavior change as a consumer, right? How the whole environment change, how the entire world change, how some of the industry been reset, right? I think some of the so-called the market leaders or some of the been running the businesses for decades. Most of them already announced. A lot of them actually announced they are closing down or they are going to pay up because of this and that. So we have to go in and understand how is that going to impact our existing business, right? And I think more importantly, after we are clear about what is our own situations, then I think we need to lay out a plan, right? Based on the worst situations, how can we actually continue to survive, right? Or what are some of the new potential or opportunities that we discovered during the FCO, right? And how can we pivot, right? If we still have resources, we still have some cash flow, how can we pivot, right? So I think I won't have an answer to all the businesses on exactly what need to do, but I would say that is in general, that is a framework that we have to adopt, right? Number one is to face the reality. Number two is to understand what is a new normal, right? Then from there, I think once you start to go in deeper, you start to have some new directions and some new idea on where are you heading to, right? But that's an old saying, what doesn't kill you will make you stronger, right? And every time there's a disaster, there's always new opportunity, right? If you look at look back at 2003 SARS, right? That's how Alibaba become even stronger, because from there they discovered the potential of doing e-commerce fully, right? In the past, they only do the B2B Alibaba listing, right?
Mhm.
Or I think the last recession, right? That's how Groupon been invented, right? Because of recession, people want to buy things more cost effectively, right? So they invented this Groupon concept, and because of this Groupon concept, it actually helped to evolve and accelerate into the various e-commerce model and marketplace that we've seen today, right? So I think again, because of all this COVID-19 MCO, I think some things is already happening, right? So if we are not yet in part of this new innovation or potentially new business, then I think we need to start think about it, right? Where are we heading to, right? So I think I hope I answered that question. Yeah.
All right, so thank you very much, Chan, for the answer, and Joyce, we hope that we addressed your question right there. So with that, thank you very much, Chan, for your time. And it's right now, 11:30 until 11:30. Not too sure if this is the latest Facebook Live you've ever done, but it's yes to be, right? I've never done until 11:30. It's the very first time. And for those of you watching right there, thank you so much for your time. And again, on behalf of myself, and again, Chan, thank you very much for your time. And Lawrence, you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you so much again, Chan, for doing this. All three of us, mata sepet people, all three of us, the eyes also already, closing soon. But again, thank you so much. I really look forward to continue to talk to you later.
All
Sure.
right. So good.
Right.
So we have Chan, we have Shireen saying thanks, and we have Amirul Ahmad saying thanks to you as well. All right, thank you so much for sharing. Oh, Joyce as well is here. Oh, thank you very much for the great advice. Appreciate that, Joyce. Thank you very much for joining as well. All right, so Chan, so we normally have a tradition that normally when we end, we got many people coming as well. So Vincent saying thanks, and of course Yan all the way from Penang. Thank you, Yan, for joining. Penang, you're from Penang, right? Penang Chan, right? I speak Hokkien, Hokkien kaki one. All right. So the tradition is before we end, we normally do a group picture. So we're gonna give this week we're gonna have thumbs up. So the previous week got love, and then we have some peace sign. Now it's going to do thumbs up. All right.
Okay.
So we're gonna do thumbs up right there. So Chan, would you mind? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Chan. Thank you so much for your time. One more time, Vincent Ong, say thanks to you as well. Hope for second session. All right, thank you very much, Chan. And with that, thank you so much, everybody. And I will have some announcements to make at the end. So once again, Chan, thank you very much. I'm going to remove from the studio.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you.
Bye. See you.
Goodbye.
Good night.
And, good night. And Lawrence, you want to say anything to our audience here today?
No, I will leave the announcement with you. For others, stay safe and sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams. All right, thank you, Lawrence. Okay. And for those of you watching right now, thank you so much for joining. And my name is Wesley Chan. And again, the reason why I'm still staying put, because I got some exciting news to all of you here today. So today is our first day of our Sales and Marketing Breakthrough Volume 2, as we commit and we dedicate to bring you some very practical, actionable items in regards of sales and marketing to be able to achieve sales and marketing breakthrough during this time of crisis. And again, it's not just crisis, because like what he said, it's time for us to turn this into an opportunity to digitize or to improve our sales and marketing as well. So again, what we have right now is, again, for those of you here, in case if you miss the Facebook Live just now, and we have this summary and an ebook created by me, and a 14 days breakthrough action plan, what you can do the next 14 days for you to have a sales, personal, and online breakthrough in terms of the sales and marketing. So you can click on the link right there, so tiny.cc sales and marketing, so you can have a free copy of the summary and also an ebook for me as well. So, and I also want to take this chance to all of you here to do a little bit of quick announcement right here, because on My Parentis, so we'd like to invite all of you to follow and like our channels on here on Facebook page, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and also want to take this chance for all of you here to invite you to also like our YouTube channel, My Parentis School of Life here today. So then again, for those of you here as well, we have this Telegram channel just to join us to be part of our community. So it's t.me/myparentis to invite all of you here, to welcome you to join our community. So with that, it's all in the comment section right there. And again, one more time, thank you so much, everybody, for being in the show. Yep, Shireen, not too sure if I pronounced rightly. Shireen, thank you so much for joining. Yeah, I remember you. And again, for those of you here, thank you so much for your time. And I want to take this chance again to thank all of you here for your continuous support. So today is our volume 2. We will continuously have every single day for this week at 10:30 p.m. every single day, late night show with Wesley and Lawrence. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for your time. And I'll see you in the summary, and I'll see you tomorrow at 10:30. Tomorrow with another great, exciting episode, Sales and Marketing Breakthrough Week. Until then, everybody, have a pleasant evening. Good night. Until then, signing off, Wesley Chan from My Parentis. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.